Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. First, let me tell you all how much I appreciate you guys following the series that we just completed on mentoring. A lot of kind words, messages, emails. Uh, just really appreciate the fact that you guys are paying attention to what's going on. You're finding it useful. When you think of these things in your head and you plan out to do them, you're not exactly sure how they're going to be received. And I really appreciate the feedback, and it really helps me. And for those of you who have presented challenges and whatever that we're going to work on, and for those of you who are working with companies who asked about additional help, in the next few weeks, I'll be posting here a couple of different programs that are meant to focus at the branch level, and actually mentor managers or team leaders and those things, while helping them support their individual loan officers and team members. And it'll be a very simple program, and we'll be able to work through that. But just look forward to that by the end of March, probably the last phone call, the last blog post of the month. Looking at the calendar, it will probably be on the 23rd, but at the latest, the 30th, I'll have that all wrapped up and available to schedule. So with that in mind, once again, thank you. You know, I speak to a lot of loan officers and a lot of managers, and I see a lot of things that I look at online through chat groups and stuff. It's part of my job to pay attention to what's going on in the marketplace and how people are reacting or not reacting to information, news, and stories. And I understand that, each market is different. Sometimes national news has a big impact on things. And most of the time, life is hyper local, where the local market, the local economy, the local challenges are taking precedence. So I get that. But what I do see from both the 40,000-foot view as well as down in the trenches with the individual loan officers, and the frustration of the fact that we see on social media so much, it is the fact that people have these thought processes. They're built around making it excuses, and this has really become a lack of a better understanding, a generation of excuses. It's how fast can we get to the excuse as to why not things are happening? Why aren't we getting what we want? Why aren't we doing this stuff? I don't know whether it's out of the whole trend of victimization or whatever. I really don't know what the answer is. Maybe it was coming out of COVID and people isolating themselves and feeling victimized or whatever. But for the mortgage and real estate business, our business was booming. So it's hard to kind of pin it on that. Maybe because business was too easy. Maybe because business was falling from the sky. Maybe it was because everybody just focused around the fact that rates were 2% and other people had 5 and 6% mortgages and it was easy to refinance them. Or everybody wanted to buy the house that was for sale. And so it became a herd mentality. If something was for sale, you had to be one of the people bidding to buy it. I'm not sure, but right now it's almost painful on one hand and comical on the other, watching what's going on, because the excuses that I'm getting from people who are coming to me now, or people that I see online, or chat rooms that I tend to be part of, is the conversation around why aren't more houses selling, why aren't we doing more loans, and some of the excuses are just right, just downright incredible. And I've tried to deal with some of those things right now and just put it out there. And by no means are all of these excuses unfounded. They certainly have a degree, like every other story in the world or every other excuse has a degree of truthfulness to it. But the reality of this is I just want to put out there a counter and a plausible explanation or strategy that we can do to counter that. And The first one off the top, oh, interest rates are too high and nobody can buy a house right now. Well, uh, interest rates over for 30-year fixed rate loans since the 1970s. If you look at the average interest rate, it's 8.76%. And so the 70s were 50 years ago. And during those 50-year samples, we had people buying and selling homes and nobody complaining that there was nobody wanting to sell a house or nobody wanting to buy a house. There were plenty of houses that were sold when rates were much higher, much, much higher than they are right now. The next excuse is the one that's always, this is the permanent excuse. The permanent excuse in mortgage and real estate is that inventory is low. And now the qualifier for inventory being low is because they won't give up their 2.5% mortgages. And well, not everybody has a 2.5% mortgage. Dave Savage at Mortgage Coach did a survey and they checked all the data, and more than 35% of all the mortgages that are out there are above 4%. So I get that there are a lot of people that have loans in the 2 and 3% arena, but there are a significant number of homes that are out there that have higher mortgage rates than that. And the possibility also of the fact that the 2.5 or 3.5% interest rate going to somewhere in the sixes or so is not as detrimental when you look at it on paper. Again, people fail to do the math. They fail to do the work. They fail to look at the payment and see what are they getting for that payment. It's the argument behind everybody who buys or wants to buy a more expensive house than they can afford. They fall in love with the house. Gee, I want to buy that house, but you don't qualify for that loan. If you could have got them the money, they'd have borrowed the money and they'd have figured out the payments, right? It is just one of those things that becomes, really, really hard to deal with, because the reality of this is new family formations happen every day. People die every day. People get transferred for work. All these different things happen. And guess what? Houses get sold and houses get bought. If you allow people to use the excuse without showing them what the alternative is, then you're feeding into the game. Well, you might as well just throw your hands up in the air and say, well, yep, there's nothing to see here. The other thing is I love is nobody's refinancing anymore. Well, that's blatantly not true. Well, refinances are not at the level they were at their heyday, and certainly not even at the level they were this time last year. Refinances still happen. And for many people, believe it or not, even refinancing out of their 2.5 or 3.5% interest rate on their house makes sense for any number of reasons. Because there are people out there who have a tremendous amount of equity, and they're also dealing with 25% or 20% credit card rates, or they're dealing with a very high payment car loan. I saw the percentage of ridiculous number of car loans that were over $1,000 a month. And okay, so you want to complain about your mortgage payment being $200 or $300 a month more, but you got $1,000 or more a month car payment. That becomes ridiculous. People are nervous over HELOC payments because interest rates are rising. Those once interest-only simple payments are starting to grow. And maybe for some people, refinancing is an alternative, but also think of it as the option. And here's, again, a strategy behind, hey, maybe you don't want it the price of a cash out refi. Maybe it's best, you know what? Sell the house, take the equity out, pay off all the debt, take the remainder of the equity, put it as a down payment on a new house, thereby lowering your monthly payments substantially and getting a nicer house, better house, bigger house, more convenient house, what have you. Again, how many people are using that or having that conversation about that strategy? And the answer is clearly not enough. Some are because refinances are getting done, but most aren't because they immediately dismiss the idea nobody's going to do this. You don't need everybody. And there's no such thing as nobody because somebody's doing it. Refinances and purchases are happening every day. And by the way, for those people who are sitting out there, I said, let's look. The flip side of the market is now that you've got all those borrowers coming back into the market who had FHA, VA, USDA, down payment assistance programs, bond programs, all of these people who wanted to buy houses the last 2 years, and nobody would entertain those offers because they were, people told them that these were the quote, oh, they're bad loans or they're hard loans or they take too long or what. Well, guess what? We're seeing FHA loans with sellers concessions out there. Hell, you guys in the industry were beating the living hell out of a 2-1 buy down where you were getting sellers to pay ridiculous sums of money in order to get out of the house or to make the transactions happen. All those programs are now back live. Those people can come back in, and those people are really not concerned about where interest rates are as much as what's the payment versus where my living conditions are going to be versus what my costs are today and where am I living now. And don't buy the biggest excuse out there, which is the herd mentality that, oh, everybody's hurting. Everybody's doing bad. Everybody's numbers are off. Well, that's nonsense. I will tell you unequivocally, I can give you a list of people whose businesses right now are doing as well or better than they were last year at this time or the year before. And I'm telling you right now, I've got big producers, not 20, 30, or $40 million producers, but people who are 50, 75, $100 million a year producers plus, some of whom are going to have record-breaking months in March and April. Okay, record-breaking for themselves, either in unit numbers or dollar volume, which proves the fact that I've said all along, when the market goes down or the market slows down or business contracts, the better people grow market share. That's being proven out right now. And what's making those better people better is they're not buying into the nonsense that there is no business to do. They're actually out there every day. They have a plan. They have diversity of opportunity, and they're willing to go out there and do the work. That 4-letter word that scares the hell out of both mortgage people and realtors realtors alike, work, W-O-R-K. Roll up your sleeves, do the work, you get the result. It's no more challenging than that. Is it as easy as it once was? Yeah, but you know what? Making 100, 500, 800,000, $1 million a year or more probably should be hard work. Are you going to get up and do it? Too many people have been spoiled by the fact that they didn't have to do the work to get a great result. Well, now you not only have to do a good job and you have to do the work, but you have to do a great job and you have to do the hard work. You have to be willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. And that's have a plan, execute that plan, and make the adjustments that you find along the way. If you need help with that, it's Mike at imtcoaching.com, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.